Hello and welcome to Linux Saints YouTube channel. In this video we are going to talk about passing arrays into functions. Now we are going to cover things like passing individual elements to functions, passing whole arrays to functions, and even passing multi-dimensional arrays to functions. So I'm going to create an integer array of numbers and I'm going to store some random integer values like, and then I'm going to create a function, a void function of display that is going to display an individual element passed inside it. So to pass in a particular element from this array to this function display, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to type in the name of the array, which is number, and then I'm going to put in some square brackets, and inside here I'm going to type in the index of the element that I want to pass. So for example, if I wanted to pass this 66, so this would be on index number 2. And for the second argument, I'm going to again type in the name of the array and then within the square brackets the index, which let's say 6. So I'm going to save my code and execute it. So you can see that the elements that were passed to this function were 66 and 3. But what if I want to print out the whole array instead of a single element or two elements? So I'm going to create a function that is going to take a whole array and display it to the terminal. I'm going to call this function as display array, and within the parameter I'm going to first pass on the type of the array that this is going to take, which in our case is integer, and then the name of the array that would be used inside this function, which is going to be num, and then I have to finish it off with square brackets. So I also want to take in the length of the array as well. So now I'm going to use a for loop to display the array to the screen. So inside my main function I'm going to comment out this line, and then I'm going to use the display array function, and I'm going to pass in the whole array by using only its name and nothing else. No square brackets are needed if you want to pass in a whole array. And lastly, to pass out the length, I'm going to create a variable, and I'm going to use a function sizeOf to find the size of my array, which is num, divided by the size of the type of the array, which is integer. And in the second argument, I'm going to pass in this variable. So if I save my file and execute my code, I get the following output. As you can see, all the elements of the array were printed, or I can say my whole array was printed to the terminal. Now in case if I want to display some two-dimensional array, I can create a function and name it as display 2D array. I am going to type in the type of the array, then followed up by name of the array, followed up by two square brackets. So in my main function, I'm going to create a 2D array, and in my display 2D array function, I'm going to display the 2D array using the for loop. But as you can see, I'm getting some kind of error when I'm trying to access those elements. Now in C programming language, when working with multi-dimensional arrays or passing multi-dimensional arrays to functions, you need to specify the length of those rows and columns. So that is why I'm getting this error. So if I put the amount of rows and columns that this 2D array is going to have, my error would just go away. So make sure you put in the amount of rows and columns an array is going to have within the function definition. Now inside my main function, I'm going to comment out this line, and I'm going to call display 2D array, and within this function I'm going to pass in my 2D array, which was num2d. So if I save my code and execute it, you can see that we have printed out our 2D array. Anyways, that was all for passing arrays to function in the C programming language.